Hello. This video is very long, and while it might seem counterproductive to add more to it, it's going to save me time because I'm not going to edit the preceding chunk. I watched through it. I don't think it really needs editing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a TLDR here with all of the just quick details. You can tell how quick I'm being because it's already been 30 seconds and I haven't actually given you any information. So, project updates as it pertains to my life. The Design Abstract has an EP that's currently in the works, but after that it's going to have a genre change. The themes that the concept albums are going to be about are going to be a lot more positive, and thus the music is going to be a lot more upbeat. And I didn't say this in the long video, that the long video is over here apparently, but it's probably going to be like super turbo clean vocals, just because I haven't been doing a lot of harsh vocals. It just doesn't work with me really. It's probably going to have as many clean vocals as Voice Side does, but it's just going to be metal, and we're just going to have to deal with that. If it becomes power metal, then it's then that's what it is. Okay, moving on. Ethereal Void, still going to be death metal. Basically, I'm going to save all of my harsh vocals for this project alone, because you can't do cleans with Ethereal Void. Musically, it's going to be a little more experimental than Gods of a Dead World, but lyrically, I've found something that I really click with, and this is basically becoming the main project. Voice Side is going to slow down a ton, and I'm basically just going to experiment and have fun, and if it gets released, then it gets released, and genre-wise, fucking whatever, man. Yeah, it's just going to be me relearning how to make music. Yeah. It's interface effectively on hiatus. I'm sorry. It's just the material that I had musically was okay. It was kind of meh, but lyrically very meh. Just like phoned in Satanism. Like, it's just kind of sucks. And so until I have ideas that don't suck, it's on hold. Same thing with Project Technophage. The album's mostly done. Musically, kind of. Well, it's getting there. It's past half. But it's on hiatus. If you want the full explanation, watch the video. Yeah. In this, I explain the context, the reason why these changes are happening, but this is just like, if you want to know what's happening with a specific project, that's it. Currently on the actual, like, the not back burner, currently on the front burner is the Design Abstract's new release. Don't know if it's an album or an EP yet. It's called Constructs of an Unseen Algorithm, and it's definitely the, like, heaviest and most insane Design Abstract yet. And then also, a couple hours a week, I'm throwing some shit at Voice Side, so you might see some stuff for that. That's it. And after Constructs is done, then we'll begin Ethereal Void, and we'll just switch back and forth between those two, and Ethereal Void will probably be the main project now, because the Design Abstract is going to be so experimental. Yeah. Alright, full explanation for all this shit, again, is over there, because this is apparently where the long video is.
This video is unnecessary. It is canon, but it is not required for understanding any of the following, or any of the music projects that I do. However, it might give you some insight. It is very much past my bedtime, but I figure I'm just gonna do this because I'm feeling it. Let me just adjust the camera mid-video and hope that there's nothing embarrassing. I just don't like the frame. Okay, it's just gonna kind of wiggle back on its own. That's more exciting than my normal framing if it's gonna slow anyway. Okay. So I have not been doing much music. Oh, this is gonna annoy me. And I'm not editing this because I can't edit stuff anymore. Okay. I have not been doing much music. I've provided a few updates mostly just me saying what I'm not going to do, but also there was like an element of unsureness to all of it. I said, I'm gonna see how it goes, or until whatever. I don't know. I can't quote what I said, but got a vague recollection. Anyway, it's been alluded to, and it's going to be kind of weird to say, but I figure it's going to eventually come out. Not that it's a huge deal. Several months ago, I underwent a change in my life, like I've said, and it made me realize how I don't actually enjoy doing most of the stuff that I'm doing, and how when I pay attention to it, music makes me really angry and pisses me off more than it actually gives me enjoyment. So I stopped doing a lot of it, and I stopped doing it obsessively, and instead I decided to read and enjoy my life and hang out with my little kiddo and my wife. Did that rhyme? That change was that I've found Lord Jesus Christ, my personal Lord and Savior. No, so I have to do that. And it's funnier if you no. But I have started practicing Buddhism, and I'm not going to be I just laugh because I'm not going to be a monk. I'm not shaving the hair, it's nothing like that. It's just like an emphasis on focusing on how you feel, how you connect with the world, your place in the world, but also your mind and body and how it's connected. So you have to pay attention to how things feel at all times. You have to you be in the moment. You're present, right? And so that's the change that I realized, because normally I would just glaze over. I would get in the flow. I would slam out 6, 8, 10 hours of music, whatever, and I'd be fucking miserable, and I'd be pissed off, and I'd be tense, and be hunched, and I'm just like, just fucking stupid fucking piece of shit, right? And like, that's not healthy. And if I enjoy music, why is this so awful? And so I pay attention to this stuff now, and I've realized how negative and how shitty it was. And that's the reason that I alluded to in past videos. It's going to come out at some point. It's not like it's a huge fucking deal. I mean, it's kind of ironic because, I'm sure some of you have listened to liturgy or to a bunch of my shit, and it's extremely anti-religious, but it's literally changed my life. I'm not gonna preach or whatever. I'm not gonna, be that guy, but like it has changed my life for the better, and I'm not gonna pretend that it hasn't. So, with that context coloring everything, here's the thing with being a metal musician. Something that I've had to really fight with is the idea that the world does not need more negativity. There's already a lot of negativity, and I'm sure it can be argued that making death metal about torture and suicide helps some people because it's cathartic. And that's fine. I'm not going to argue that. However, being in touch with how I feel when I'm writing and recording those songs, it feels bad. Project Technophage is stuck because all of the songs that are left are hateful, disgusting, angry songs. And yes, they're funny and they're kind of tongue-in-cheek, but at the core of it, this message of you're a piece of shit, you should have killed yourself, is not one that I think needs to be in the world. There's lots of that in the world, and I don't need to contribute that to it. And when I pay attention to myself saying those words, it feels shitty. So nothing that has that sort of message is going to happen. I might suck it up with the Project Technophage album because it's more than half done. But I don't like it. I just don't. Sorry, I'm a little baby. I don't like how it feels when I do it. So, any future releases, and I am slowing down a lot, but any future releases, I'm going to have to weigh that against what I'm putting out into the world. So some things can in fact be positive. The main example is going to be the design abstract. There's plenty of ways that I can go with that. Design abstract is a science fiction concept album band, so all the albums tell a story. And it shouldn't be that hard to tell a story of a future that's positive. We're going solar punk, okay? As opposed to cyberpunk, essentially. So like the album that we're working on right now is about artificial intelligence that evolves to godhood and then tortures human beings. It's already written. I'm not going to scrap it. But it's been hard to finish because I don't really think that that needs to be out in the world. I think the music does. The music's amazing. But it's not a message that I'm happy about spreading. It's easy, though, to write something. Well, easy and not easy in the context of the design abstract. To write something that's more hopeful, solar punk type stuff. Becky Chambers, I've got a whole list of them. Becky Chambers, Ruth Anna Emery's, somewhat Lena Rather, somewhat Arcady Martin. Oh God, what else? There's a whole bunch of them. I guess those are the main ones. This idea that future technology can evolve in a way that lets us live more in harmony with nature instead of fucking and raping it more. Like, and I can write an album about that, and I will. But some projects are just like inherently negative. Like I'm gonna have to really dig to find a theme that actually means something, because on top of this, like on top of the changes that I've kind of gone through in terms of that stuff, like my own philosophical, spiritual changes, I've also just been in a huge rut because I feel like all good music has a purpose to exist. Whether that be the musician has something that they want to express politically, emotionally, or they just have music that they want to express, like concise ideas, right? Like anything that's good has that vision. And for the longest time, I've written music just kind of because it's a math problem, or because I wanted to prove that I was, that I was a better vocalist or a better guitarist or a better orchestra person than others or than myself or whatever. I was just trying to be better and better and better. Nothing wrong with that. I just don't think it's a good enough reason to make music. So everything that I write from now on needs to have a purpose, like an emotional core purpose. It needs to have a reason for existing other than just because I make music. And so, yeah, it's going to be tough for like because inherently those lyrics are kind of meaningless. Like I'm sorry if you liked Perception and Transcendence, but like it's really just sort of like pseudo esoteric mumbo jumbo, and like the later stuff is just more like cynical, heartless Satanism. And like, so all that has to go because it just sucks. And so that album is gonna wait for a while. And same with the Project Technophage is gonna be really hard to finish just because it's so fucking like negative and hateful. And Voicide is interesting because Voicide, almost everything that I write about with Voicide does have a very strong emotional core, but it's shitty emotions that I had trouble processing. It's about breakups, it's about suicide, it's about loneliness, and these are things that again, I'm not trying to sound like a douchebag. These are things that a practicing Buddhist needs to sit with and process in daily life. That's the entire practice, is just like whatever emotions come to the surface, you just sit with them instead of repressing them and having to, be super edgy and goth and write albums about it. Like that was like the emotional catharsis to get, to finally be at peace with some of those things. But I don't need that outlet anymore. I'm chill, like I'm fine. So that's an interesting challenge. I have managed to make a little bit of headway just on topics of things that I have really struggled working through emotionally, because I don't think there's ever going to be a Voice Side song where it's just I'm writing it for the sake of writing music. I think if that's going to be the case, it's just going to be dead, because it's not about that. There's no technicality in Voice Side at all, right? Like, any piece of shit could pick up a guitar and play that, probably better than I do. And so it doesn't need to exist in that sense. It needs to, out of necessity, be an emotional outlet for me. But it's a little weird because being successful at this practice and meditating on a regular basis on all of the emotions that come up means that I don't have this unresolved trauma and stuff. But like I said, I have made a little bit of headway in writing songs that are still important to me. Obviously Voicide is never going to be upbeat. Like, it just can't. I can't write like that. Even if I'm more stable and more well adjusted as a person, I can't write upbeat music. Like, it doesn't work. Even if I could actually manage to get something out of an instrument that sounded inherently upbeat, I would cringe myself into oblivion when I listen back to it. So it's never going to happen. It's going to be depressing and goth forever, or it's not going to exist. Simple. Another interesting twist is that I think Ethereal Void is going to almost be the main project now. I've really been clicking with the lyrics that I've been writing for the new album, like, a lot. They're the closest, how do I put it? They have come out as being the thing that I can connect with the best, in terms of what I was saying before about all music sort of needs that core drive, that reason to exist. Right now, all the lyrics for the new Ethereal Void album are that. Much more so than Design Abstract, because we currently have a release that's 5 or 6 tracks, and it's the most aggressive. It's technical deathcore. It's like very fucking aggressive. It's super edgy. It's the edgiest lyrics that I've written for Design Abstract. So after that, there's going to necessarily be a tone shift, and it is going to get more upbeat because, of course, I've got Logan on that, and he does not have a hard time writing stuff that's upbeat. So Design Abstract, I think, is going to suffer the most, or at least change the most, because that project has eyes on it. And like, I'm going to release the Constructs EP, and it's going to be like real negative and edgy, but then after that, it's going to be like a significant shift. So yeah, not all projects are dying, but since I'm the core of most of these projects and I have underwent a significant life change, out of necessity, these other projects are going to change in some capacity. The Design Abstract, we're talking after the stuff that's currently already written, is going to be, it's still going to be concept albums and it's still going to be sci-fi, but it's going to be a lot more solar punk, like the authors that I mentioned. There are other ones too. It's just I've got a lot of books to go through. I'm trying to think if there are any other ones. I think Becky Chambers is probably the biggest one in terms of if you want to understand what I mean by solar punk. But it's basically the idea of, like, imagine cyberpunk sci-fi technology, like in technotheism, right? Imagine that level of technology, but instead it's used to not destroy the environment. It's used in a way to live in harmony with the earth, which sounds real happy and twee and whatever, and like, well, story, like that's what it's going to be about. There's going to be conflict still. It's just the setting and the overall message is going to be different, because the one day I was driving home from work and the horizon was just smoke, because I live in Canada and just about every province in Canada is on fire right now. And I was thinking about how my son is going to grow up in a world where the weather reports will just say smoke because everything's just burning. And I'm thinking, you know what would be great for me and for other people is if I could write a piece of media that wasn't a reminder of the fact that the world is literally burning and everything is kind of going to shit. And I feel like that would be a better impact on the world, even if it's just a little impact, even if it's just a few people listening to it. That would be a better impact than this album about artificial intelligence evolving into godhood and torturing humans. I'm really pandering in that one too, because it's called Constructs of an Unseen Algorithm, and like it kind of harps on like algorithm bad, because, you know, people are realizing that like social media algorithms are garbage, and they are. Excuse me, but also it's about artificial intelligence, you know, gaining too much sentience, which people are so freaked out about right now because of Chat GPT. It's like, this is perfect for like the paranoid people who are scared of technology. If you think technology bad, that's the album. Oh man. Anyway, yeah, that'll be a good one. That album is ridiculously fucking heavy. Anyway, not the point. That's Design Abstract. That's going to be the next sort of big thing that I work on. Again, severely reduced rate, but since it's already started, I'm at least going to finish it. Ethereal Void musically is going to be more or less the same. It's going to be a little more experimental just because we need to evolve somehow. But lyrically, it's kind of interesting because it's more about like esoteric spiritualism and all this weird sort of mumbo jumbo. It's not going to have stuff like I worship hatred and psychosomatic suicide. Like that's kind of done. It's going to be more heady, more abstract, more spiritual and esoteric. It's still going to be death metal. There you go. Yeah, voice side is going to see a little bit of action, but it's really going to be hit or miss, just depending on if I can write music that I think actually has meaning. Similarly, Ut Interfosal is probably not going to happen anytime soon unless I can find a way to spin it in a way that's meaningful. That whole project is just sort of like a meh sort of thing. I hate to say it because Perception and Transcendence is really cool, and the ideas that I had are kind of the melodic black metal with like a touch of symphonic, I guess. I don't really need an outlet for that right now. In fact, I really haven't been listening to metal still at all. So it's weird in that regard. So that effectively is on a hiatus. I wouldn't say that's necessarily canon, though. If somebody updates the Metal Archives, if they've gotten, how far are we into this? 20 minutes. If they watch 20 minutes of this video just for me to say that specific project should be switched to on hiatus, great. That'd be amazing. And unfortunately, I think Project Technophage is effectively on hold as well. I might rewrite the lyrics. It's got a lot of fun songs. It's just like, it's not the type of shit that I think needs to be out in the world. I know it has fans. It's just, I gotta do stuff that I feel is artistically valuable. I've been really struggling with that. Just like, I feel like all the art that I make has no point other than as like a mathematical musical expression, and I don't think that that's valuable. I don't think that that's compelling. I'm not saying nobody wants to listen to that, but I think anything that's good has more drive than that. It has a reason to exist beyond that, whether, like I said, it's political reasons or like emotional reasons, or even just like a compelling niche genre, or any combination of those things. Which I guess our stuff is the last one, but it's not enough for me. It needs to have like a compelling emotional reason to exist across every platform. And if it was just an expression just for shits, kind of like Perception and Transcendence was, then sorry. Am I missing any projects? The Lore Master is happening soon, but of course that's not up to me. I think that's all of them. I often forget the bands that I'm in. Yeah. This is a long one, and it's a little rambly. Suffice to say, I've had an... What do you call those things? An a religious awakening. Sure. And it's just, I now give a shit about the type of stuff that I'm putting out into the world, whether we have a fan base or not. I don't care. That's not the point. And I just don't think that the world needs more negativity. I guess that'll be funny when I release more voice side shit and it's just like still turbo depressing and stuff. But the big ones, Design Abstract and Ethereal Void, are not stopping. My production is still slowing down. Like, I'm effectively closing shop. But anything that is pre-existing, I will finish very slowly. And new material is basically, for me, it's just going to be voice side. And then for collaborative stuff, it's just going to be Design Abstract and Ethereal Void. And voice side is going to be a lot more of me just sort of playing around, just like experimenting, basically trying to relearn how to make music. And I'm not going to churn it out like fucking crazy. I'm just going to like try some stuff here and there, a couple hours a week. And if you see it, if I release it, then cool. But I'm definitely, overall, I remember I said when we were working on Transhuman Ascendant, I looked up all my favorite albums and all my favorite singers, and they were all about 22, 23 when they released all of my favorite albums, like pretty much across the board. And so I was like, okay, Transhuman Ascendant, that's not the breakout one, but the next one is, statistically speaking. And yeah, I don't care anymore at all. I'm not trying to be like a technical vocalist anymore. I'm quite happy where I am as a vocalist. So there's a lot less showy offy shit, and there's going to be a lot more, hey, this is actual music shit. But it's just going to be sort of whatever I feel like. I'm not going to try to like create these albums that are like, surely this will resonate with the kids. Like, no, I'm just gonna do whatever I think is right, especially for voice side. Like, if it comes out, if the next thing I release is like a catchy turbo banger, then so be it, but it wasn't intentional. I'm just experimenting. I'm gonna try things. The stuff that's gonna come out kind of soonish is like pure electronic, just because I felt like it. And yeah, Design Abstract, going to be a lot less negative. In like the future, it's going to be, yeah, we're going solar punk, just so that I can contribute positively to the world, and it's all going to move at a snail's pace. Yeah, so those 3 projects aren't dead, but I'm also not really doing nearly as much stuff anymore. Like even instrumental stuff, I don't play bass anymore, and I sure as hell don't touch guitar anymore. Yeah, and I just don't really spend time doing this. It's like barely a hobby now. Yeah, unless I feel like it occasionally. That's basically what it comes down to. I just, long-winded, rambly video, but I wanted to explain what's going on and just like get it out there so that it makes sense, kind of, because I was alluding to this mysterious life change and how it's not my kid. It really isn't, and like, it isn't. It's just, this is sort of the path that I chose to go down, and it's definitely been for the better. Like, my relationships are a lot better, and that's what's important. It's more important than music. I've now learned that. Took me 10 years, but here we are. So for a while I thought I was going to quit completely. I wasn't sure, but it kind of seemed like it. But it's going to be a very big challenge to regulate and to not be obsessive about it, because then I get really negative and really angry and I neglect my existing relationships, which is incredibly stupid, and it's important to not do that, which means that the insane productivity that I had for years and years is just not going to happen anymore, and so I'm not going to take on nearly as much stuff. So yeah, unless I switch, if I start doing Project Technophage, then Voicide is going to be on pause for like a long time. And out of the two, I just prefer Voicide just from a musical standpoint. And yeah, a lot of those peripheral projects are gone. And then of course, like I think Swamp Ass is done because a bunch of the files got corrupt, and like that's whatever, that's cooked. And like Long Earth Theory, I want to finish the songs that are there, but it's like such a back burner. It's like if the stove had like 10 burners, it's like on the 10th burner. Yeah. So, and then like with Lore Master, like Logan is going to be doing a lot more of the production, because like he already does little minimal stuff himself. All I do is release that, or do I master it? I don't know. I probably master it. But you know, he can do all that stuff. And then like with Lore Master stuff, because they're such massive projects, he's going to do that basically. And if I need to further outsource, I will. If I need to start outsourcing the mixing for Design Abstract or Ethereal Void, then I will. They're not that hard, but if they are hard, I will. That's why I stopped playing bass for it. Yeah, so that's basically it. We'll basically slow down to the pace of a normal band. And yeah, some of those projects, it's just going to be a while, or they might morph into something that I can actually use. It's possible with Project Technophage. I could turn that into something that I'm okay with, but I'm not sure about that with it interface unless I stole lyric ideas from Ethereal Void. We'll see. If you watched all half an hour of this, you're a psycho, but thank you. Yeah, I don't know how many people, I don't look at the statistics. I have no idea how many views these get, but I like to put it out there just in case some diehard fans care. So yeah, thank you for your support.